Next to speak is Councilman Friedman.
Thank you, Judge Harriman.
You're welcome.
You know, tonight we've heard and will continue to hear a lot about the figures of this increase and the effects that it will have. You know, I want to talk about the numbers, though, because as accurate and complete as they may be, they don't tell us the full story of this rate increase. Tonight I want to focus on what's beyond the numbers, and that's the people who will be paying for it. The people you really need to hear from tonight, Judge Harriman, won't come to this mic to speak. They won't come to this mic to speak because the people you really need to hear from are the hardworking people who have given up, people who have lost hope that their voice can make a difference, who, being dismayed by politics and the record of the Public Service Commission's continued approval of rate hikes on their backs, have shunned coming to meetings like these because they believe that your mind is already made up. And they believe that, perhaps correctly, that their fate in this matter, as in so many others, is already sealed. The people you need to hear from tonight, you will not hear from. So I will speak for them instead. I know those people. At this very moment, they're working across the street at Walmart for $12.50 an hour with no hope of benefits, just to be able to bring something home to their families. On the thruway down the road from here, they're driving a truck for hours on end, for pennies on the dollar that they would have made just a few years ago for the very same work. Across town, they're the construction workers and iron workers, the plumbers and the contractors and the engineers and electricians and so many others who are working on constructing a stadium, working on the only active project in this region, giving them their first paycheck in months. You know, as if the strains of the working people in this town were not enough, and their lowered position and pay due to the economy were not sufficient to describe the new challenges that our families face, let us consider the plight of those in our town not able to find even the most basic jobs. Educated individuals with records of experience in a gamut of fields who have been making a decent wage or more are now part of the vast and growing number in our nation, in our state and our town, who live on $405 a week given to them by the unemployment office. Some in our town have been out of work so long that they've already exhausted the maximum benefits that they can receive. Now, in better times, that was for 26 weeks, or about half a year. Today, it's 93 weeks, or almost 2 years. You know, just today, I was speaking to a woman in our town who has already exhausted her access to unemployment benefits. And she told me that her rent is $775. And her rent is due. And she doesn't have $775 to pay. Now, you know, it's very easy to sit in a cloistered corporate boardroom and say that you want to come up with a way to find $50 million, come up with a way to make another $50 million and another $50 million, and put it on the backs of the people who can least afford it. You know, it's quite another to be that woman, or the hundreds or the thousands of people in this town and in our state and in this coverage region who can't afford to pay the rent that is now. Now, you know, you don't have to pay an actual utility bill to feel the pressure of this increase. If you're paying rent, your rent is higher today because of the utility bills that your landlord has to pay. This rate increase is going to turn that $775 rent to $800, to $900. It's already past the point where people can afford to pay it, but the utility companies don't care. You know, amid the pressures facing our families that are just trying to survive, whether they're working or not, Orange Rockland's proposing a rate increase that won't make a tremendous impact to its bottom line, but it will certainly damage the bottom line for our families. You know, it's trite to say about any increase that it's the wrong time for it. You know, there rarely is a right time for an increase of any kind, and I acknowledge that. But if there ever were a truly impossible time for our families, for your customers, this is that time. Now, somewhere in our town tonight, a little girl is huddled under a heavy blanket, shivering in her bed because it's too cold. It's too costly to heat her home. And downstairs is her father, sitting at the kitchen table, sifting through the day's mail, an envelope stamped past due. And he's looking at his gas bill and his electric bill, and he's looking at his water bill, and he's wondering which of those bills he could afford to pay this month, because he can't afford to pay them both, and which service he can get by without for just one more month. Down the hall from him is his wife, that little girl's mother. Physically and emotionally exhausted, she's crawling into bed with a half-empty stomach, having eaten only half a dinner, because she knows that if she makes dinner for one night and only serves half, she can make that dinner last for 2 nights. That's the reality of our families. That's the reality of the people the utility companies would force another increase down their throats. Now, tonight, those people and people like them across our town are asking the same questions. The little girl asks, why is it so cold? And her father wonders, why is it so hard if I'm working 2 jobs? And her mother wonders, is there anything that we can do? Now, I don't have the answers to those questions. But I do know that raising rates yet again will only add to those questions. Because the last thing that those people need is for that little girl to feel colder, or for her father to feel like it was hard before, but it's only getting harder, or for her mother to spend another sleepless night of worry, feeling even more hopeless. I don't have the answers to their questions, but I do know that this rate hike certainly is not it. Thank you very much.